Hello everyone. Okay, so this is going to be part 3. In this video, I plan to tell you about my religious background. So I think that everyone needs to understand my religious background for upcoming videos. Alright, so I'm just going to jump right into it. So my mom was a born-again believer, and she raised me in a Wesleyan church. And I know there's a lot of people out there who want to bash denominations. Just don't even go there. You can't control what denomination you were raised in. If you're a kid and a teenager, you go with your parents wherever they go. However, I will say that the Wesleyan Church is not all that bad. They may not be perfect, but they're not bad either. I got a really good, solid foundation of the gospel in that church. The person who ran that church, his name was Pastor Pease. They had other pastors after him, but none that really made that great of an impact on me other than Pastor Pease. This man tried to bring my dad to salvation numerous times. He has really prayed for my dad. As most of you know, but some of you may not know, my dad is not saved. And so, yes, this man has made many attempts to try to reach my dad, and he was very good to my family. He was very good to my family. So I will make mention of him. He gave me a good, solid foundation of the gospel. So I have a lot of good memories at that church. It was a white church with gold stained glass windows out in the country on a plot of land. In the daytime, the sun just kind of beamed in that place. It felt so warm, and it just would shine so strong into that church for some reason. But at night, you could really hear the cicadas making a bunch of noise. Or katydids. Maybe not cicadas. Katydids. That's what I mean. Anyway, is that the same thing? I don't even know. Don't laugh at me, y'all. Okay, so the katydids would make a bunch of racket at night when you would go outside. You could hear all of them just making a racket. And it was so pitch black because it was kind of like out in the country. Also, I remember at night the fire whistle would go off while we were in church. And I remember thinking, wow, I feel so safe inside this church no matter what is going on outside. So that was kind of a funny memory. But yeah, so Sunday school at that church, good memories. Vacation Bible school especially, that was a lot of fun. And at the age of only 4 years old, at the tender age of 4, I went down to the altar and gave my life to Yeshua. And I felt very clean. I felt very at peace. And this started my relationship with Yeshua. Now, I was a very mature 4-year-old, and my mom had taught me a lot. So that's probably why I was able to get down to the altar at 4 and give my life to Yeshua. And so that's pretty much it with that church that I can think of. Another funny little memory real quick. When I was like really young, really small, I used to get down on my hands and knees, and I used to crawl underneath the pews from the back of the church all the way to the front of the church. And I'd stick my head out of the first pew, and my mom would look at me like, you stop it. That was really funny, you guys. I loved to draw on the chalkboard while my mom was in the choir. My mom sang in the choir. She also ran like a group there called the Christian Youth Crusaders. And I was like a little herald. We wore those little beanies on our head, and we had like a little sash with badges on it you'd earn for doing different things like reading your Bible or helping around the house or whatever. Yeah, so funny little memories. And I think I won a trophy for being like the highest herald. So I think that's pretty much it for that one. And then as I got a little bit older, as I became a teenager, teenagers just want kind of excitement, and they're just into stuff that's a little bit more modern. And so I was invited to the Assembly of God Church, the local Assembly of God Church, the biggest one in the area, and by some friends of our family. And I really liked it, so I decided I was going to stay there, and I became a first soprano in the choir. I also sang on the praise and worship team for the youth group. Now, our church put on these large passion plays every year for the public, and they were so popular that it was already a large church in a large parking lot, and we still had to turn cars away. So we had to run it for like numerous nights so that so most people could get in to see it. It was very popular, had very good special effects, very good lighting. We did the whole crucifixion scene and all that stuff. And it was very impactful. A lot of people came to salvation through those plays. I prayed with a lot of people after those plays. And there was also another play that went around from church to church to set up. It was Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames. Some of you might have heard about that play. And they come to your church, and you all help decorate the set and everything. It's a lot of fun. And then they pick people for parts. And so I was an angel in the Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames play that also ran numerous nights. And I stayed and prayed with people after. Lots of people came to salvation through those plays. And I also helped the youth pastor with the youth group. I was also a youth camp counselor for the district, and that youth camp was a lot of fun, and many of my girls came to salvation, and it was just a really good experience. And at that church, there were many nights that I stayed after church to pray. Like, everyone was just running out the doors, ready to go home. And I think my friend and I had a friend that went there that I was pretty close with, and we stayed after church a lot to pray. And I think sometimes the pastor or someone had to come and say, "Okay, girls, it's time to get out. I'm locking the doors." So we just love being in God's house. We love being in there. And we also, my friend and I, came before the services to anoint pews and pray for salvations. So we did that a lot too. We would come early and just take some anointing oil and just anoint the pews and pray that whoever sat in those pews would receive salvation. So we did a lot of that too. So I loved being there, and I loved whatever God was doing. So as you can see, from the time I gave my life to the Lord at 4, and then I'm in the Assembly of God doing all of this, I have always been very close with Yeshua, and I've always been about what he is doing. And my mom was very active in the Assemblies of God too. She had a 2-year degree from the Barnabas School of Ministry. I believe it was a 2-year degree. She taught missionettes at that church. She was an altar worker, so she prayed for a lot of people for salvation and healings. And my mom also had an outreach to the Chinese in the town, the Chinese community. She tried to get a lot of them saved and taught them about the gospel. And so my mom was also equally very active and set a good example for me, really. And so she also taught an all things Jewish class at the church, and a lot of people seemed to really like it. I know the Jews for Jesus came and danced there once. And so that's about it for the Assemblies of God. But as you can see, I've been in service with Yeshua for quite a long time. It's been an ongoing, regular, I guess, permanent thing. Whatever word you want to throw in there. Just showing you how Yeshua has been very permanent and present in my life for quite a long time. So, I'm out in Colorado, and this is years later. I was working for a daycare where there was a church attached to the daycare. And they were having a prophecy revival, and I love prophecy revivals. So I decided to go. And I remember exactly what I was wearing that night. I was wearing a Jesus laughing t-shirt and a cross. I was very close with Yeshua at the time, as I always have been. And I was just praying at the altar, and I was really worshiping Yeshua as much as possible. And I came back to my seat. My friend said, "You see that guy over there that looks like kind of Jewish?" I was like, "Yeah." And my friend said, "Well, he just went down to the altar and anointed you and prayed for you." I said, "He did?" I said, "That's interesting. I'll have to go over after the service is over and introduce myself and thank him for praying for me." Well, at the time, I had a desire to learn some conversational Hebrew. And not long back, I just bought like one of these Star of Davids with like a cross in the center. And you guys, some people don't know this, but I'm going to tell you, I have not one, but 4 names in my family that are Jewish descent, okay? And one of them is a Levite last name. And some of you might not know, but some of you might also know that the tribe of Levi intermarried into the tribe of Judah. That's like common knowledge if you know enough. Anyway, so yes, I do have Jewish heritage. I have the Jewish blood in me, but I knew that my Messiah was Jewish, and I wanted to learn more about his Jewish side because I loved him so much that I wanted to be as close with him as possible. So I had already had a love to want to learn conversational Hebrew. So I was teaching myself some conversational Hebrew from a book that I had. And so I went up to this guy after the service and found out that here it's the rabbi from a local Messianic Jewish synagogue. What are the odds of that, you guys? What are the odds that I am at some church, at some prophecy revival, and I had already had a love to want to learn conversational Hebrew. I already have Jewish heritage. I already, had bought a Star of David recently with a cross in it. And here is this rabbi. He just happens to be the same place as me. What are the odds, you guys? I apologize if you hear my son coughing and sniffing. He has really bad allergies right now. I've got to, do something else for his allergies. It's pretty sad. If you guys want to pray for him, that would be great. He suffers from allergies. I hope he's not, so allergic to Colorado that we have to leave, but I don't know. Anyway, back to the story. So, if you hear him, I apologize. I'll just put on this, white noise machine. Sometimes it helps block out other sounds, you guys. That might help. Anyway, so, yeah, what are the odds? So I talked to him, and he invites me to the Messianic Jewish Synagogue. He said, we have Hebrew classes at our synagogue if you're interested. And I thought, yeah, well, obviously I'm pretty interested. And so I did learn how to read and write some Hebrew letters. I didn't really keep up with it, you guys, but I did learn a little bit of how to read the letters and how to write them. But then mostly I was interested in the Davidic dancing because I came to one of the Davidic dance practices because I wanted to see what it looked like. I had never seen Davidic dancing before. So I came and I really liked the way it looked, and so I started coming to the dance practices, and I picked it up pretty quick, you guys. It did not take me long to pick this up. And so I loved the Davidic dancing, and I came to all of the services, and I attended all of the holidays with the congregation, and I attended the congregational get-togethers, and these people became like a family to me. In fact, they helped me a lot when my husband just ditched me. They took me under their wing, and they were like a family to me when I didn't have anyone. And so I even met one of my closest friends at that synagogue, and so when I came to the first Shabbat service on Saturday. When I walked in there for the first time, I felt peace come over me like I'd never felt in my entire life. Never felt in my entire life, you guys. I felt peace in the church too. I felt a peace, but I felt even a greater peace when I walked into that synagogue. And I think I had come home. I basically think that I thought that I'd come home. Anyway, so it seems like I'm getting a lot of interruptions, stuff showing up on my cell phone. I think I'm going to cut this video off. I just wanted to go over my Wesleyan church background, my Assembly of God background into the Messianic Jewish congregation, and how that all came about. Have to admit that Yeshua has been working in my life all of these years, and he's still working. And so for those of you who think that I don't have Yeshua, I most certainly do. And I'm going to make some more videos today, so I'll talk to you soon.